All right, good morning. Good morning. Who do we have in the chat this morning? I don't see anybody yet. I see a couple of you watching, but nobody's chattering yet. And guys, I totally understand if y'all are going to get tired of hearing about the how the hell you... Wow, I'll have to go look at that. Where did I even write the word allies, Steve? I'll have to see if I can fix that one. I don't even... Where did I even... Oh, there it is. I dropped an L. Oh... Kind of like the Biden administration, dropping L's. My bad. And it's too late to fix that one. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that, brother. Oh, hold on a minute. What you need, little buddy? Oh, good. Hey, good morning. Hey, I'm working right now. Can you do you need anything?
No.
Okay. Well then, I'll see you upstairs in a little bit. And that was little Michael. All right. So, yes. So, where was I? I just got all kind of derailed and distracted this morning. Okay. Let me start with this. I don't want to talk about the Taliban situation any more than I have to. But there is a lot that needs to be covered there, and more than I have been able to cover in the 2 hours that I've already spent talking about it this week. Steve says Afghani pews. Oh, because they need some Jesus. How's that for an extra pun? But I want you to think about who the Taliban are, who supports them, how the Taliban have become what they've become. And, look back to, Joseph Robinette Biden is the current president of the United States, to our everlasting shame and deep reasonable suspicion, by the way. That said, Joe was the vice president for 8 years with Obama. Obama, who actively funded and supported ISIS. And that's not tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff. We've got absolute dead to rights, pallets of cash being delivered directly to terrorist sympathizing countries, state sponsors of terrorism. The Obama administration was basically one long fundraising campaign for Islamic terrorism. That's not even a question in debate, right? That's a foregone conclusion now. We know this, right? There's not a debate to be had there. Add to that Biden's obvious and pretty solidly evidenced support from China among a host of Middle Eastern countries. Because remember, Hillary Clinton's biggest campaign contributors were Middle Eastern countries as well. The Democrats are absolutely allies of the Taliban, of radical Islam. You don't even have to just look to the squad who were just nakedly open about it. It's very much a part of their party, largely because the agenda of the Democrat Party is the downfall of the United States of America, and they're willing to accept money and allies from anywhere they can get in that regard. Largely, I think this is due to the influence of China in the Democrat Party, which is painful to see and to understand. And one of the things that you're going to see in the narrative as more and more is discussed about what's happening in Afghanistan and how it is that the Taliban were able to essentially just step in and take power. You're going to hear narratives like the Afghan National Army basically just surrendered and was absorbed by the Taliban, but that's not what happened. So, like Dan Crenshaw was talking about it the other day, guys. He said we've been training this military for 20 years over there, and that's, you have to understand it's a very young country. They haven't had time to build the military infrastructure, the logistics infrastructure, things of that nature. Okay. Bullshit. We dumped a fortune into that country, building them roads, showing them how to do the military work. 20 years we've been in that country training their military. There's an interesting thing about that number, 20 years. You can retire from the Army in 20 years. 20 years in the U.S. Army is a good, long, healthy career. It doesn't take 20 years to make a competent soldier. So we've been training them for 20 years. That means that the oldest recruits in Afghanistan, in the Afghan army, who were not previously Taliban, and I'll get back to that in a minute. The oldest of the recruits in the Afghani army, who were not previously also in the Taliban, as military, by the way, have had a full career. They have had the same amount of time to develop as functional military assets that a well-seasoned sergeant major, or first sergeant or major, even some colonels have had. Right? Normally, the colonel, sergeant major, you're talking more than 20 years in. You're talking about somebody who's gone past indefinite enlistment, and like my old dad, he did 36 years. He was a sergeant major. That's as far as you can go in the enlisted ranks. And by the way, 36 years of active duty. I love you, old man. Feels a little crazy in retrospect. 36 freaking years. More than half of which we were at war with Afghanistan. We were at war in Afghanistan. And Afghanistan was a major international crisis problem for the world, for the entirety of my father's very long military career, and the entirety of my much shorter, but still reasonable career. I mean, I did 7 years. That's not a full military career, but that is a hell of a long time to do any one crazy thing. And I did a lot of crazy things in those 7 years. Let's be clear. So the Taliban has come in and taken over. Guys, while I was over there, I spoke to many, many, many Afghan National Army soldiers. And because of the nature of the work that I did there, many of those soldiers were high rank, long serving veterans of the Afghan military. And they would say things like, all right, look, homeboy over on Twitch, I don't want to block you. I don't want to drop you. I don't want to ban you. But do me a favor and back off that FBI BS. I'm totally comfortable with your opinion, but if you get my channel banned, I'm gonna have a bit of a problem with that. So, hey, I appreciate the trolls. It's fun, but if you start to cause a problem for the channel, then I'm just gonna have to get rid of you. That will be YouTube forcing me to censor you through the illicit censorship of YouTube of my right to speak. And gotta hold on to that, baby. So, yeah, I'll give you that one. Yeah. F the Afghans, I'll give you that one. Because they're too dumb to learn. So many of these officers that I spoke to, hey, would tell me, "Oh yeah, I've been in the Army for 20 years or 25 years or 30 years." Okay, I was there in 2010. If in 2010 you're telling me that you've been in the Afghan National Army for 20 years, that means that you spent 10 years as a soldier in the Taliban Army before we got to this point. Oh, okay, look. I can't let you keep up with that crap. You got to go, buddy. Sorry. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, but I can't let that stand in the comments for now. So if you're 2010, you've been in the Afghan National Army for 20 years, that means that you were Taliban. Couple that with the too dumb to learn, and that's why the Taliban was able to just walk in and take over. It's not that the Afghan National Army basically just surrendered and blended in quickly and easily. It's that at the core, where it matters, at the leadership, they were always the Taliban. One of the things that we ran into, one of the problems that we had a lot of in Afghanistan throughout the entire period of the American occupation there was what we called blue on green violence, right? Green forces, or USA4, United States Armed Forces, or we would call green or green forces, and then blue is all allied forces. So the blue on green violence, it happened more often than I care to admit, but it happened on bases where I was while I was there. I've seen it happen, and it had to be dealt with. Where just all of a sudden, an Afghan National Army soldier who's got his weapon because, hey, he's an ally, in theory, is walking around carrying his weapon. Yes, Steve, we are going to talk about disarmament. You just hold your horses. I'm setting the table. Walking around with his firearm, with his AK-47, because they're supposed to be allies, and we want them armed so that we can go and conduct missions. And just all of a sudden, hey, it's lunchtime. There's a half a dozen U.S. troops sitting around a table eating lunch. They've all got their weapons with them right there next to them, but they're not exactly standing up at the low ready, and just burn them down. This is a problem that we encounter with these people. So it's basically the case that the Taliban was able to take over so quickly. It's not just that the Afghan National Army is incompetent because their soldiers are too dumb to learn, despite 20 years of training from the most highly trained, highly skilled, and well-equipped military, not just in the world today, but in the history of the world. It is that the Afghan National Army was never not also the Taliban. Now, I met a lot of soldiers in the lower enlisted and middle enlisted ranks, guys that only been in for 5 or 6 years, who actually were diehard Afghani patriots who what they wanted, what they were fighting for was that they wanted to see their Afghanistan, where they were born and raised, adopt something like the U.S. Constitution and be a free state. Those guys were there. But that's not the leadership. That's not the decision makers. That's not the commanders. That higher echelon, those guys were Taliban as recently as 21 years ago, at a minimum. And I'm not saying that as recently as 21 years ago they were loyal to the Taliban despite being in the Afghan National Army. No, that's incorrect. That's not the correct distinction. 20 years ago, when we were first deposing the Taliban and replacing them with an installed regime to serve as the new official Afghan national federal government, they were the military. They were the privates. They were the privates and the young NCOs in the Taliban army when that army was deposed. And those are the ones that stuck around and became the upper echelon leadership. So they were never not the Taliban. So now what's going on? They've been in for less than a week. They've been in power for less than a week, and already, civil liberties are over. Women are being forced back into burqas against their will. A woman can't walk down the street unless she's got a male family member to escort her. All the crazy stuff that goes with Sharia law is back in place. And here come the Taliban. Taliban collect ammo and guns from civilians after takeover. Excuse me. So, what was I saying? Who are the Taliban to us? Well, they are supported by and allied with the U.S. Democrat Party. An American Democrat has never met a terrorist they didn't want to dump money into. ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, BLM, Antifa, Planned Parenthood. They've never met a violent terrorist they didn't want to make a donation to. Or actually made donations to. Steve says, but the Taliban promised to keep the women's rights. Hey, Alex says Parler's back on the app stores. I wish him luck, but I don't have high hopes for him, Alex. That might be a whole nother show topic. Or is Parler too weak to support? I know, it's dead air while I'm writing down a note, but that's just so I can get another show out of this one. Steve says, and neutered. Yes, they have been neutered, and that's gonna be a show worth doing, I think. That might be what I do tomorrow. So, the Taliban is already, like I said, they've been in power less than a week, and here they are confiscating guns. We're gonna see an Afghani gun buyback. Is that what they're gonna do? Vowing that they will not harm innocent civilians. I told you about that time they kidnapped a bunch of little girls and chopped their noses and ears and fingers off, right? Just so we're clear, these are the same people we're talking about. These are the same people. These are men who are happy to mutilate little baby girls and put them on display in the public square in order to make a political point. So, vowing that they will not harm innocent civilians, the Taliban have started to collect guns and ammunition from Afghan civilians in Kabul, a report said. Reuters, citing a Taliban official, reported that the group said people in the city will no longer need to hold on to their weapons because they no longer need personal protection. Because they no longer need personal protection. Let's think a minute about what the allies of this terrorist regime have done in the United States, where they're demanding that we abolish the police. And they've been very clear. They've been very clear on this. The BLM website had it up. They were very clear. When we say defund the police, we don't mean just shift some money to other programs. We mean absolutely abolish the police. The police as an institution should no longer exist. And they also want to take all your guns away. And that's one they've tried to say for years and years. You'll remember Obama. Look, you trust me. Nobody's coming to take your guns away. But that mask totally slipped. When Beto got up and said, "Hell yeah, we're gonna take your AR-15s. Hell yeah, we're gonna take your guns." And Biden said, I want to make that guy in charge of taking the guns. Oh, and didn't Beto get some kind of cabinet appointment now, or up for one? I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure about that one. Anyway, they no longer need personal protection. Says the terrorist regime that has blown up scores of innocent civilians in less than well-targeted suicide attacks on U.S. troops. This is not a thing that I read in a newspaper, guys. This is a thing that I saw with my own two eyes. Right? I've seen Afghan National Army soldiers and Afghan National Police square off over each other, and I'm not the words that are about to leave my mouth are not some racially, ethnically, or regionally insensitive aphorism to illustrate a point. It is a statement of literal fact. I saw these Afghan National Police and Afghan National Army guys square off and open fire on each other because one of them had stolen the other's goat. Allegedly. So, and Alex says, guess what they do if you're not willing to hand over your guns? And that's another topic that we'll go into again. We've gone down that road before, but Alex is 100% right. All law enforcement is rooted in the threat of death. Right? Without the threat of violence unto your death, no law can be enforced. That's not a question of the law. That's not a question of philosophy. That is an irrefutable metaphysical fact. So, they can now feel safe, the official told the outlet. They can now feel safe. Am I the only one who's seen the videos of the Afghan nationals trying to climb up on the side of the C-130 during takeoff and then falling to their deaths in hopes that they can hold on to that wing without their fingers not freezing to death, without their fingers freezing solid and breaking so that they then fall some hour or so later to their untimely demise in the nasty, nasty sand. They don't feel safe. Guys, dear Taliban, with very good reason, your people do not and should not feel safe. A violent, zealous, evil totalitarian regime has, just by the good graces and nattering incompetence of a self-shitting madman in the U.S. president, been armed with some of the most powerful modern military technology available. So no, they cannot now feel safe, Mr. Official Taliban spokesperson, who, unlike our former beloved president, is still on Twitter. And guys, that's my show. That's all I've got for you today. Y'all be safe out there. Thanks for watching. Love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.